I'd like to tell you a story. It's April 2004. I'm sitting at my desk in the Rogers Cable office right here in Ottawa. I'm nervous. I'm about to sign off on a contract for a great big promotion. I've been asked to come downtown Toronto and run Rogers Cable's largest cable system. In fact, it's the largest cable system in Canada and the 12th largest cable system in North America. Wow. But that's not really what's making me nervous. What's making me nervous is that I've been asked to come down and turn around Rogers Cable TV's worst performing system. It was bleak. The financial numbers were all out of whack. The customer service scores sucked. And the employees were disgruntled, they were downtrodden, they were very discouraged. After all, if you've been told that you're the worst performing system over and over and over again, how motivational is that? And on top of that, 60% of the work that was done with our customers, whether it was in the field or on the phone, was being done by third-party contractors. So even if I turned around the internal organization, I was going to have to deal with this external workforce as well. But you know, when I looked at all those numbers, all the reports, all the statistics, there was one number that really spoke to me, and that was the employee engagement score. Because you see, for me, employee engagement is just a symptom. What it tells me is that our employees have run out of gas. And I believe that it's corporate culture that fuels our organizations. So I knew if I was going to make a sustainable change here, I was going to have to address the culture first. I knew that I was going to actually have to ignite this culture. And I use the word ignite purposely, because for me, it's a 6-letter acronym on the process that I like to use to successfully move culture from where it is today, from where it needs to be tomorrow. So the first step in this process is to inquire. And this is where we go out and we do a cultural assessment. I'm not talking about an employee engagement survey, an actual assessment about where your culture is today. And what you get back from that is some data, and that's good, data's good, but data really doesn't tell you anything. You really need to go to step number 2, which is to gather. This is where you have to find the stories and the meaning behind all the data that you're getting. And that's exactly what I did with my team in Toronto. I remember it well. We were in a large meeting room, and there were big round tables. There was about 60 people in the room. I had the entire leadership team there, from team manager right up to director. And we were talking about the way we work. And the contractors kept coming up. If only the contractors were better trained. If only the contractors would hire people who had customer service in mind. If only the contractors would show up at work on time. If only the contractors, on and on and on it went. It was like Chinese water torture. I was on the sidelines listening to all of this, and I just became more and more frustrated about all this conversations and all this blame and all this finger pointing back and forth. And finally, I just had to call a time out. Listen, can we talk about these contractors for a minute? Because I just don't get it. I mean, the way you guys are talking about them, it sounds like they're aliens from outer space. They come down in a great big silver spaceship. They file out, they put on a uniform that turns them into some human form. They go out in their service truck. They service all our customers, terribly apparently. They come back in, they strip off the uniform, they file back up into the mothership, and whoosh, away they go. Now, I've been out there and I've actually visited these contractors. And I don't know about you, but the last time I looked, they were human beings just like you and I. Brothers and sisters, mothers and fathers, sons and daughters. So I really just don't get all this conversation about the contractors. Well, there was silence in the room. And finally, one woman spoke up. I'll never forget it. She was sitting at a table about 3 rows deep over on this side. Her name was Sandy. And Sandy said, maybe we should stop calling them contractors. Maybe we should call them business partners. And in that moment, there was such a shift in the perspective of how we were going to work together. That's the value of having these rich and deep conversations during the gather phase. Now, the third phase of this is name. And this is where you want to take all the data, all the stories that you've heard, your vision for the organization, your strategic plan, and you want to pull it all together and say, what is the culture that we need to have here in our organization in order to be successful? What are the values that we want to live by? So for us in Toronto at this cable operations group, it's a service organization, so clearly we needed to have customer service. Innovation? Not so much. What I really wanted was teamwork, because it was an organization where one department depended on the other. But teamwork wasn't anywhere in the conversation that morning. What they were interested in having was respect. So I knew that where they were in this place of blame, that I couldn't suddenly put posters up on the wall that said teamwork and expect teamwork to show up. I had to first let them get to respect. So those are the first three steps: inquire, gather, and name. And I'll give you that many companies who go on a journey of culture do those three steps. But if that's all you do, if you stop right there, all you've done is create a fad. Fun and done. It's the next step that's so critical. Embed, I for embed. This is where you need to create a blueprint for action. You actually have to put some initiatives on the table that will allow you to shift from where you are today to where you need to be. And so in our case, some of the examples that I have, we had to change out some of the leadership team, because we all know that it's the behaviors and beliefs of the leaders that set the tone for culture. And I had a couple of leaders whose own personal values weren't really congruent with what we needed in order to be successful. Not right or wrong, just different. You might say square pegs and round holes. Another example is we had a process that was a big barrier to success, and that was our dispatch system. We'd outgrown it, it wasn't scalable, so we need to create a whole new software into the organization. And another great example was training. We developed a new Train the Trainer program so we could get more people through the program as fast as possible. And that included not only training and certifying our business partners, but also training and certifying our internal staff, because you know what? They weren't nearly as trained up as the external group either. And then finally, once you've put your blueprint in action, you have to track it, of course, because we all know that what gets measured gets managed. And then at the end of the day, you want to come back in and evaluate your progress. You want to make sure you're staying on track. Maybe things need a little bit of tweaking here and there. Maybe something has changed along the way, and you want to be able to bring that back in. When we did that, after 3 years, I found out that the financial metrics were starting to turn around and come back up. The customer service stats were turning around, and we were getting much better results there. And in fact, the employee engagement scores were moving up, the ladder as well. So when you think about your culture, and you think about the values that you need to have in your organization in order to be successful, do you really have to be a Google or a Zappos? No. But could you be substantially and dramatically better than where you are today? Absolutely. So I'd like to close with a favorite quote of mine from Bob Nelson, who said, "You get more out of people, not by fanning the flames underneath them, but by igniting the flame from within." So I invite you to ignite the culture in your organization so that you can fuel your people, your profits, and your potential. Thank you. Thank you.